Hey, it's Jason Rogers here, and I recently got a question on my Instagram that I want to answer here in this video for you. How easy is it for you to delegate? Is it easy to be an absentee owner? The kind of owner that is not around often, yet still maintain a high productivity and profitability for that business or for those sets of businesses that you ultimately may acquire, right? So let's say you buy XYZ business and then you buy ABC business. Is it possible to install management or to procure a business with strong management, an XYZ business and an ABC business, such that you don't have to be involved in the day-to-day operations of that business? What are some of the pros and cons? We wanted to dive into that topic. So let's get right into it. Firstly, of course it's possible to be an absentee owner and still have a successful business. But let us not pretend that it's going to be just as easy to milk every single penny out of that business that you would have been able to have milked out, if you will, had you been on the job. Now, we do live in the 21st century where you can use Zoom and Skype and a host of different software platforms. You can get on the cloud and have a cloud-based operating software for your operating system, and you can use the internet and leverage the internet for so much of quick and easy data transfers and file transfers, and you can use e-signatures and so many things that you used to not be able to do, right? You can sign checks digitally now, right? You can deposit checks to your bank account digitally. There's so many things you can do in this 21st century that allow you to more effectively be a quote-unquote absentee owner than in the past. But the presence of a leader at the business is always going to have a net positive effect if you're a net positive leader. Now, if you're a bad leader, the business may be better without you than if you were there. But if you're a powerful leader, if you're a leader that inspires people, that motivates people, that gets people to want to be better versions of themselves, then of course your presence as the founder and CEO of a business is going to be positive. But it's a cost-benefit analysis play, right? Because even if you're able to milk 10 cents out of every dollar more out of XYZ business, if you were able to use that time and instead to buy ABC business that maybe pays you 50 cents on the dollar, then your time would have been more wisely spent in the acquisition of ABC business than it would have been milking every penny out of XYZ business, right? Whereas you could have focused on XYZ business and gotten a little bit more profitability out of it, or you say, you know what, I'm going to deploy my time and just buy a whole other business. And of course, that's going to be a much more net profitable time allocation for you. At the end of the day, another thing to consider is the operational teams that you're either buying or implementing into your business, right? So are you going to keep the operational team when you make an acquisition? This is a huge point of consideration. And this is part of what you're going to be considering during the due diligence process. When you have that 30 to 60-day period to analyze the business, you're trying to understand and to ascertain, is this a strong operating team, right? Or perhaps it's a scenario where you talk to the owner and the owner says, look, me and my operating team are bailing out upon this acquisition. You're going to need to install your own operational team from day one. Now, that's a different process, and in many cases, I would say that's a more experienced challenge, or rather, that's a more difficult challenge that an experienced operator is going to want to take on, because if you've never been in XYZ business before, if you don't have any experience in XYZ business, and the prior owner takes his management team with him, or maybe it's a business of one, it's a small business where the owner was the CEO / COO / CFO / everything, and then he leaves. Now you have a void that could be difficult to fill. Now, of course, this is dependent on your industry, your experience, how complicated the business is that you're going into, the profit margins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very difficult for me to say point blank, yes, it's possible to be a successful absentee owner, or no, it's impossible to be an absentee owner and still be successful, because neither statement in a vacuum is always true, right? Usually in business, it's about the gray area, right? It's the gray area that really influences whether you're going to be in the red or the black. It's all those details, the type of operators you have. Is there a strong leader in this branch, right? If there's a really strong leader, and if you create proper incentivization structures, meaning maybe there's There's bonus upside if the manager of a certain branch is able to reach certain goals. Maybe you incentivize everybody from the branch manager to the associate, if you will, or however your tier system works, right? But the incentivization process in structures that you put into play, that's a huge potential way to get operators to perform at a higher level. Likewise, maybe you give them a little bit of equity in this business. Even if you have the parent company, like we have Top Code Brighter Living, and then we have LLC Nebraska. And in time, maybe by the time you're watching this, we have LLC Illinois or LLC South Dakota, right? So in other words, we could give our operator in South Dakota a little bit of equity in LLC South Dakota or LLC Nebraska or LLC fill in the blank, meaning you can give away equity at the specific branch level to that not owner operator, but rather that manager, and that can be another way of incentivizing. So there's a lot of things you can do to get the most out of people. Likewise, maybe you have somebody that is your COO. Let's say you're the CEO and you have a COO that checks in on the 3 or 4 different branches that you have. Let's say you have a branch in Illinois, you have a branch in Florida, and you have a branch in California. And maybe it's the job of the COO that you hire on and give equity to in your parent company, right? You give your COO equity in each of the branches, and you give them equity in the parent company that owns each of those branches. And you have that COO check in each day or each week on each branch. You have reporting systems that you put into play where each branch manager reports into the COO, and then you review the report from the COO, right? So these are different ideas. It's all about the structure you build, the incentivizations that you really have, the carrots that you provide to your branch managers or your COO or your leadership team. And of course, it's about how strong are these operators and what kind of a marketplace are you dealing with in each particular branch? Because if it's a very competitive marketplace where if you go down 2%, suddenly you're in the red, then maybe you can't afford to take yourself out of it and you need to be there on the front lines leading every single day, whereas maybe it's a little bit less competitive or the margins are a bit bigger, or you realize that your presence isn't really affecting the bottom line that much, but you realize, man, if I go make another acquisition, that'll be a much better use of my time. These are some of the points I would consider. But again, we got this question from Instagram. That really is where I happen to be most active actually right now, because it's where I get the least amount of DMs and comments. My email inbox is always flooded. LinkedIn is always flooded. YouTube comments, I always have 50 at a time, right? So Instagram right now is actually the place where I'm most able to read your comments, read your DMs, and reply to you. So be sure to follow me there at Jason Paul Rogers. I'll put that right here. And I will talk to you in the next video. And by the way, if you liked it, thumbs the video up, subscribe to the channel for more business content, to follow me as I grow Brighter Living Properties, and I will see you in the next one.